Fantastic. And welcome everyone to the Louis Glunz Wines Tasting Hall. It is the second series. Yesterday we were lucky to have a crazy winery called Glunz Family Winery present all day in the tasting hall. And without our fall show, we had to do something. We couldn't just sit on our hands and say we couldn't do anything. So we decided that we were going to ask our favorite suppliers, some of our favorite producers, to come on board and hang out and join us here in Chicago from wherever they are. I wish I was at Wrigley Field right now, but unfortunately, we all have to work. So this is just a fake background. But I want to welcome and thank our presenters today in the Glunz Tasting Hall, and that is the crew behind Wine Hooligans, headed by Dennis Carroll. Dennis, welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for being here and bringing on your team. You want to go ahead and introduce who you've got here?
Absolutely. There's to my right, stage left, would be Chris Bates. Chris is our regional in the Midwest. Our director of winemaking, Adam LaZarre, who has a lovely Cycles Gladiator T-shirt on, which apparently he can get, and I can't get one out of our marketing team.
I want one of those too.
Yeah. Well, we'll get it right to you right after me. So next to him is Damian Davis, who is the founder of Portlandia and is now part of our sales team. He can fill you in on his title. I think I've forgotten what it is as of today. So that's our team, and we hope to tell you a little bit about Hooligans, what we're doing, and where we currently are. I was going to have a raging forest fire in my background, but I didn't think that would be, politically correct. But as you probably have heard, we have 3 separate California wildfires going on right now that are creating a little bit of havoc for harvest. Depending on what part of California you're in, it ranges from fairly severe to not a big deal. Where I live in Marin County, which is right below wine country in Sonoma and Napa, we had the worst air quality in the United States for 3 straight days. And basically you had to stay inside. It was like walking into an ashtray. But enough about our travails and fire. Wanted to tell you a little bit about Wine Hooligans history before we got started. I started the company about 7 years ago with the intent of really bringing artisanal winemakers and into Wine Hooligans via acquisition, but also to keep the people that were with those particular brands involved. And we were successful in doing that. We have Broadside from Paso Robles, which we acquired from Steffi and Brian Terese down there, and they are still involved with the company. We also were fortunate to have Adam LaZarre, who became available to us, and Adam was one of the main reasons, probably the main reason why I acquired Cycles Gladiator, because Adam was the original winemaker, original creator of the brand, and that was a very important connection for us to have. Damian, as you can see, he was Portlandia, and Damian and I have known each other for a lot of years, going back through several different wineries. Finally hooked up and were able to join forces on Portlandia. So as I talk about that, you can see that what we've tried to do with Wine Hooligans is keep the connection between the people and that we originally acquired the brands from, keep specific geography on the brands, whether it be Paso Robles, whether it be Oregon. And we also, feel that's important with having a little bit different approach to building brands in this particular industry. We think it goes a long way to making us our reality a little bit more important than maybe others. And the last acquisition that I did a couple of years ago was not from a brand perspective, but it was from a production perspective. So what you're going to see is Adam and Damian are at the winery right now. We purchased a winery in Santa Rosa, which gave us far more flexibility with our production, gave us the ability to grow, and has been fantastic with the people that came with that acquisition. I would imagine you've seen an increase in our marketing, both collateral material and just overall approach, and that was really from the folks that came on board with that particular acquisition, along with a lot of production expertise. So it has been a very interesting 7 years. The last 6 months have been particularly interesting with the pandemic, with the economic crisis, with the social unrest, and now with the fires in California. But I'll say this, we've thrived during that period. We have not really missed a beat. And that is a testament to not only the folks that you're going to hear from today, but it's also a big testament to the rest of the crew. And I think Joe would echo this sentiment. It's great to have, product. It's great to have facilities. It's an interesting market to work in. But like any other business, it comes down to the people that you have, the teams that you assemble, and everybody pulling on an oar in the same direction. And I can tell you that the team at Hooligans adheres to our mission statement, which is to relentlessly solve puzzles together. And that's what we do every day. We solve puzzles. And that puzzle changes every day, but we're trying to get to an overall goal, trying to build that puzzle the way that we want to see it built at the end. And so far, it's been a great 6 months, believe it or not, to really see how people are working together through very adverse times, and we're having success. And of course, that goes right along with working with folks around the country like yourselves at Glunz. We're appreciative of that, and look forward to bigger and better things. So with that said, I'll turn it back over to you, Joe.
Absolutely. And Dennis, you hit the nail on the head. It's trying to figure out the puzzles that we're dealt with every day. And I have to say the greatest segment you and I both have is great teams. And we have to depend on our teams to really come through. And this Glunz tasting hall that we're hosting is really one silly idea that everyone, right before I left for vacation, Dan will tell you, I came up with this crazy idea and dropped it on everybody. And one person was willing to tell me, you're insane, we have to change this up. Initially, I had 53 wineries presenting in 17 days. And we've switched it to 16 now. So everyone was much happier, but regardless, just the logistics and balancing everything has been fun, to say the least. One of the other housekeeping things I wanted to mention is that we have a couple things we'll wrap up at the end. We have special pricing that we are going to be giving to every single person that has shown up today. That pricing will be available on our DSD link, which, Dennis, another challenge is people not wanting to see people face-to-face and getting orders taken. And so we opened up a online platform, which opened up, if we didn't have enough going on, opened up yesterday. So we are having a lot of fun with that, but we'll send more information on that to everybody as well. But it's really exciting. And all of your accounts, all of the accounts that are here, your account is already set up through you participating and registering today for pricing special that you will get an email on, and we'll talk about more in a little bit. So now I'm going to introduce a very great partner in our team here is Chris Bates. Chris, if you can go ahead and lead on from there.
Hey, everyone. Thank you. Thank you for the time. Thank you for taking time out of your day showing up with us and talking about wine hooligans. I won't talk too much just because I want to get to the stars of the show. As Dennis mentioned, Adam LaZarre, our head winemaker, great guy, and then Damian Davis, our little nutbag up in the Pacific Northwest, who is the creator of Portlandia. I will send everyone here that's here on a email with my contact information. Anything you ever need, let me know. My job is to say yes and fill out, complete that puzzle, as Dennis said. Again, I will go on to the stars of the show here in a second. One point we want to get across to you is from $10 to $20, we want to be your go-to resource for wines. You know, we have the quality, we don't have out of stocks, we have quality, we have the pricing, we have everything that you need from $10 to $20, and a few things, a little more expensive, but we want to fill that piece of the puzzle for your business and have you move forward with us and us move forward with you. That said, I'm going to introduce Adam LaZarre. I know we've got a little limited time with him because of the bottling line in the warehouse, but Adam, please take it on.
Hey guys. Well, thank you, Chris. I appreciate the introduction. If it gets a little noisy in here, apologize. We got bottling going on, and bottling is the sound of industry. It's the sound of making money. It's the sound of getting you guys products. So if it gets a little loud, apologize in advance. So I'm going to talk to you about a couple of the wines that we produce here and things that are very, very important to me and the rest of the team. The first wine we're going to talk, you see the t-shirt we got, this is wine Hooligans, Cycles Gladiator, wine for the fierce. I think that's really cool. Cycles Gladiator, we're going to be discussing the Pinot Noir, and we're going to be tasting it first, but I want to talk to you a little bit about the brand and where it came from. So I was the vice president of winemaking at Hana Estates from 2001 till 2009. And during that time, we created a couple of really popular brands. One of them was Rex Goliath. You remember the giant 47-pound rooster. When we sold that brand, we started up Cycles Gladiator. And now Cycles Gladiator came about because Hana Estates at the time was very much a cause-based winery. We supported a lot of philanthropies, things that were very important, particularly Nicky Hahn and his wife and a number of the senior management were women's rights. And we came across this poster from about 1895. It's kind of a Belle Epoque era poster from the Gladiator Bicycle Company. And so we thought, first off, I mean, we thought it was a really cool label design that we could do. So this wasn't anything that we really designed. This came right off of the poster. And I believe there's about 4 or 5 in existence now. I think they're like 3.5 by 5 feet. But at the time, there were about 150 bicycle companies in Paris, France. And each one of them had kind of a Belle Epoque era advertising poster with a woman riding a bicycle. She might be in various stages of undress, riding through the vineyard and cobblestones, a baguette in her hand, a bottle of wine in the other, but there's always this joy about her. And what this was all about was that at the time, Susan B. Anthony had just kind of passed through Paris on the World Suffragette Tour, and she had declared that the bicycle was the greatest contribution to women's liberation, because what it did was it allowed a woman for the first time to get out of the house. To meet up with friends, get a job, get away from the kids, get away from the husband. It allowed a degree of freedom that women up to that point didn't have. And the reason I bring this story back up again is very, very topical, because this year we're celebrating the 100th anniversary of women's right to vote in this country. And so we've gotten on board a bunch of really cool things involved with that. You can talk to Chris about that if you want any further, but I do want to taste the wine with you guys. If you guys are cracking it open, does everyone have a sample of this stuff?
Yes, we have the sample, and the Cycles we have is the 2018 Pinot Noir.
All right. Well, we're in luck. I have the 2018 too. So
one thing I'm going to quick interrupt you, Adam. These bottles that everyone has are very, very cool little 2-ounce sample bottles. Please do not open them over your computer, your keyboard, or your iPad. They are very full to keep out all oxygen, literally to the top. So just make sure you open them on a flat surface.
But when I started with Dennis, when he invited me to come be a director of winemaking and he picked the brand up from Han, There were probably about 13 or 14 different SKUs, which is way too much stuff. It got really top heavy, and there's a little baggage behind it. But we just trimmed it down to what made sense for us. There's a Cabernet, there's a Chardonnay, Merlot, a Petit Syrah, which we have to keep because Petit Syrah is really popular in certain markets. But Pinot Noir is kind of our, one of our flagship SKUs for the brand. And one of the things we did was we took it back from it's still a California appellation, but most of the fruit is sourced from the Central Coast, Monterey, Santa Barbara, a handful of different locations, comfortable vineyards that I've been working with for nearly 30 years. I've been doing this for a long, long time. So it's 100% Pinot Noir. There are very, very, very few Pinots that are 100% that actually taste like real Pinot Noir at this price point. And it continues to garner accolades. I think it's a pretty easy wine to sell by the glass at places. Just you drop it on the counter, and whatever else they have at that price point, it usually smokes it. So I don't know. Any thoughts on the wine? What do you guys think?
It's fantastic. I'll have to say.
Good. Yeah, I'm really proud of how this wine's turned out. And again, we're committed to making, as Chris had mentioned, we're committed to being the very, very best bottle of wine you can find at under $20. We want to make this easy for you guys to sell and easy for you guys to make money with. So that's our mantra. You guys are happy, we're happy. All right, wine number 2, I know I'm kind of on a limited time thing here, is going to be the Broadside Cabernet Sauvignon. So Broadside, this is the Paso Cabernet. We have a couple of different SKUs under the Broadside label. This is the one that I probably have the most fun with, though. These wines are all made grape to bottle, as a lot of what we do here is. The majority of the fruit comes from what we call the Bellum Ranches. There's a Truesdale Vineyard, the J. Lohr Mesa, where J. Lohr gets a lot of their grapes. Dow gets their grapes. Justin gets their grapes. We get a lot of those same grapes that go into this. So it's the San Juan Creek, South Appalachian to Paso Robles. We also use Margarita Vineyards. And we also have a little bit from the west side, from the Estrella, South Appalachian to Paso. The idea being, you guys have the 17 out there, right? Is that what you guys are tasting?
Indeed, sir.
Okay, great. So it was funny. I was on Facebook, a Facebook wine group of a bunch of wine professionals today, and someone had asked about a day or two ago what the go-to under $20 Cabernet was. And of course, there were like 1,000, people. There's sommeliers and distributors and buyers and winemakers on, and it ranged the normal. But there were a number of people had suggested Broadside, and I thought that was really, really cool. And in fact, some gal actually mentioned it from, she worked in Chicago for a long time as a buyer. So, you guys are getting the wine out there, and I appreciate it. So I don't know what you guys think, but, for me, J. Lohr and Justin are kind of the benchmarks for Paso Robles Cabernet. And I'm not shy about saying I'm good friends with the winemaking team over there. And I'm not shy about saying that I like to use them as kind of a template for the type of wines that we can do. Because again, we get their fruit from the same vineyard sourcing, and we use a lot of the same barrels, same oak profile. So we just like I said, we want to be in that, considered in that conversation, but a much lower price point. So hopefully it works for you guys. I know you guys are doing well with it. So, and we also, by the way, just want to point out, if you haven't seen, we got these little baby things here.
Nice 375s.
Yep.
Perfect for takeaway at restaurants, especially these days.
Yeah. Well, did they allow you to do that in Chicago?
We do, yeah. The state of Illinois was very quick, thank the Lord, to adjust the very strict pre-prohibition laws that we had governing us for a while, but did pull that out for a lot of purveyors. So,
well, I mean, it makes a lot of sense. You buy a 750 ml bottle, and it's the two of you, and you're forced to drink it, other than just bring the rest of it home. But anyway, that's beside the point. So we are going to talk. The last wine here we're going to be talking about is a Stephen Vincent Napa Cabernet.
And then, Adam, I did want to let you know that we will be moving on to the Portlandia Pinot Gris as well as the Portlandia Pinot Noir after you with Damian.
Right. Yeah. Like I said, I'm trying to cram about an hour worth of information here in about 12 minutes. So, so this is a new wine for us. Well, Stephen Vincent is not a new wine. We've had Stephen Vincent for a while, and it's bounced around a couple of different appellations. We've been in California, we've been, other places, but this is Stephen Vincent Napa Valley Cabernet. And what excites me and my winemaking team about this wine is that we have access to some ridiculous fruit. There'd been a glut on the market for many, many years. People have stopped buying $50 and $60 bottle Napa cabs. All this fruit's become available that we've been able to lock up in contracts. And the fruit for this wine comes from Rutherford. It comes from Oak Knoll. It comes from the Yountville sub-appellations of Napa. I've got some Merlot blended into it. I think 14%. And I've got 7% Petit Verdot also, all from Napa blended into it. And so using great oak barrels, again, it's, the margins for us are super, super thin on this, but the idea being is that it, maybe help, we get some volume out of this, and that's where we make our nut. So I want you guys to try this and tell me. We've had comments saying this is the best Napa cab people have had under 40, let alone $20. And I'm my own worst critic. I don't like anything I make. I've had it 1,000 times. I always think I can do something better, but I'm really happy with this wine. This is one of the first wines I think I've ever made that I'm pretty satisfied with. I'd like to know your thoughts on it, seriously.
Adam, I'll echo your thoughts. For Napa Cab, it just shows the body. You're looking for cab, the flavors, the fruit, everything, the backbone. For $12 acquisition price, show me a better wine at $12. Come on. Especially a Napa Cab at $12. Your customers, they recognize Napa, they know Napa. It's a go-to for everyone.
And this isn't Napa County, this is Napa Valley, which means that 85% of the grapes, and in all fairness, 100% of the grapes did come from Napa Valley, but as opposed to Napa County, which is only 75%. So we've gone all in on this. We've got the new label design. It's super elegant. It stands out, white as a new black, stands out on a shelf. But again, it's, this is all about on premise. We love restaurants. We want to be the Napa Valley cab on any wine list.
That's fantastic. So excited to have the Napa Valley addition onto that line. Really showing outstanding quality for the valley.
Well, we're in the North Coast, and it makes sense to have something, some wines from it. The rest of the Stephen Vincent line too is also from the North Coast. We have some killer Pinot Noir, Chardonnay, which is ridiculous. Most of that comes from the Russian River. We're just having so much fun working with top quality fruit here, both on the Central Coast and in the North Coast. Makes my job easy when the wines turn out great. As your brothers Joe can attest, if you don't have to go and fix anything and monkey around with anything. If you've got great grapes, it's computer guys, garbage in, garbage out, and we start with the really top quality stuff. So it makes me excited. And I'm just looking forward to getting a vaccine so I can come back out to Chicago and visit with you guys. One of my favorite cities.
Can't wait for that one.
I used to live there.
Are there any questions to our good friend Adam before he has to run and do some bottling? All right. Well, Adam, not seeing any. We've got a couple maybe here. I love the from Jacob Collins. I love the oak isn't ham-fisted in there. So many cabs at that price are so out of balance. I feel like you showed a lot of respect to the grapes by not over-oaking it.
We used a lot of restraint, and that was a philosophical conversation that myself and the winemaking team had about where we wanted this to be. We recognize the fact that a lot of the Napa cabs are heavily oaked, as are Paso cabs, but it also, there's actually a lot of oak on it, but it's really good quality French. So the barrels that I use are untoasted heads, so I don't apply a lot of oak flavor. I want more of the mouthfeel, the structure. Really good French oak will actually pop the fruit on a really good wine like a cab. So, you know, there were I do some heavily oaked wines for private labels and stuff like that, but this is not one of them. So
Awesome.
Adam, thank you so much. And just to recap everything, guys, the Cycles Gladiator wine, there's 5 varietals in that wine. We'll send you, when we send you, I'll send you a thank you. I'll send you some information on all the wines and all the types, all the varietals, the current scores, recent scores, et cetera, et cetera. Then Broadside also has a Chardonnay, Margarita Merlot, Margarita Vineyard Merlot, and a Printer's Red blend, and then the Gladiator Cab, which is a special product coming out. I can't really get it out here. Really good. Maybe Adam, if you can show it and talk about that for a second, that'd be great. And then the Stephen Vincent wine, the Napa Cab, and then the North Coast appellation of Pinot Noir, Chardonnay, and then the Red Blend Crimson. And I'll send you this information on all those. And then after Adam gets done talking about Blackletter for a second, we'll move up to the Pacific Northwest with the wonderful Damian Davis.
yeah, so Blackletter came about discussions a couple of years ago. We were thinking, you know, we were accessing for Broadside and even Cycles Cab for that matter, some of the best fruit in Paso Robles, and working with some great growers. I've lived in Paso Robles since 2003 when I was at Hahn. So I've been there for 17 years and I've worked with fruit out of all the sub-appellations. And I know all the winemaking teams and a lot of the growers. And we're just thinking, you know, if we have access to some of this fruit that goes into, you know, La Venture and Dow and, you know, Booker and some of these other, you know, 98 point wines, why don't we make a real, and just pull out all the stops. And that's exactly what we did. This is a fun wine because it's made by hand, literally from scratch. We source fruit from the Margarita Vineyard. There's these 2 hillside blocks just when you get into the vineyard. You get maybe 1.5 tons per Cabernet per acre. It's all harvested by hand, going to make the picking decision, and brought down to the winery where we destem everything. It's all punched down in half. The Grosso Cresser Vineyard, which are 50-year-old Cabernet vines out on Vineyard Drive, like I think it's across the street from Whalebone. It's down the road from Opalo. It's up the road from, or it's down the road from Halter Creek, or Halter Ranch, excuse me. But it's also some pretty fantastic stuff. And we do it all the same way. We blend a little Petit Verdot in there. And it sits in about 50% brand new choke barrels, Canellerio and Sylvain barrels for a year and a half. And so it's a really fun wine to put together. And the amount of what we put into the wine, we think, you know, warrants. We've had this wine before, a lot higher with under a different name, scoring 95 points. So we figured, you know what, we can probably do this and make it more affordable to you guys. So it's a fun wine. It's going to be at the top end of what we do, but we're really excited to roll it out. And I hope you guys have some success with it.
Thank you, Adam. Damian, you want to roll? Thank you so much, Adam. Thanks for your time.
All right. All right, welcome to Dundee, Oregon. I'm here at the winery, and I actually went out early this morning and picked some grapes. So this is Willamette Valley Pinot Gris, and we're going to go through the Pinot Gris and the Pinot Noir. Here's I had them in a cooler. This is an AM/PM cup, very fancy grape receptacle. And then this is Pinot Noir. So you see, we're not quite ready for harvest, but we have gone through veraison. And here at the winery, everything's set up, the workflow to process fruit. We got tents up to protect the fruit from sun or rain, because you never know what's going to happen up here. But when I started discovering Oregon wine, it was the old producers that I still adore and love. Adelsheim was one, and Elk Cove. And these are like the 3rd and 4th producers that started in Oregon. And I love the wines, but quite frankly, I couldn't afford them every day because they're kind of the best of class in that $25 to $30 range. So with Portlandia, our goal all along was to produce great wine under 20 from Oregon. And this Pinot Gris is my favorite. I love Oregon Pinot Gris in general, but I grew up, my parents had a seafood joint back east, and I think Oregon Pinot Gris is the perfect seafood wine. We blend in just a touch of white aromatic. So a little splash of Riesling, a little splash of Gewürztraminer, but otherwise, this is a super fresh wine. We bring it in, we ferment it, we rest it on the lees, we basically cold stabilize it and clean it up, put it in a bottle and ship it to Chicago. So you'll see, you'll see us producing the 2019 got bottled in the first quarter of 2020. And we'll start bringing fruit in and actually start playing around with a blend right after Thanksgiving for the following year. So the characteristic of Oregon Pinot Gris, purity of fruit, real crisp acidity, great minerality. And you get a little bit of the aromatics on the nose. It's really tough to taste it, but you definitely get almost a floral nose to it. And that's from that Gewürz Riesling. It's a great food wine, a great summer wine.
Adam gives it a 91.
91. I got a 91. Thanks, Bob. That was good. Props are excellent. It's actually on a 4-year roll where we've gotten Editor's Choice from Wine Enthusiast and a series of 92, 92, 90, and then 91 for the 2019. So, good Lord willing, in the creek don't rise. These little grapes will be ripe within the next 2 weeks, and we'll be bringing them in. The winds just started kicking up out of the east, so the heat is spiking, which is not a bad thing. Last year, we had lots of rain. We were fighting in rain gear to harvest. This year, we're going to be in shorts, okay, because it's in the 90s. That's like hot for us.
It's heaven, baby. It's heaven.
So at least no forest fires. So that's the crazy thing. These are all agricultural-based products. And every year, you're presented with a different set of challenges. So are we skipping the rosé, go right to the Pinot Noir?
We can talk about the rosé, certainly.
Okay.
They do not have a taster of rosé, but you can.
So just to get you an idea, we do rosé from Pinot Gris and Pinot Noir. So Pinot Gris is a hybrid between Pinot Noir and the Pinot Blanc, which is as white as my hand. So it's in between. And if you do long-term skin contact, you get an orange wine, and the Italians and French will produce them. So we do a rosé every year that, depending on the prices in the crop and how things come in, is a blend of Pinot Gris and Pinot Noir. So this is a Pinot Gris based rosé. We do about a 7 to 10 day skin contact with the Pinot Gris. We do about 10 hours, one shift at the winery with the Pinot Noir. And again, great crisp acidity, done in the style like the French rosés. And there's a ton of great rosés in the market. This is one of them. But let's move on to Pinot Noir. So as you notice, my glasses are on the label, but just real simple. When I get great Pinot Noir, I've always described it as Bing cherry, that great cherry cola, Bing cherry fruit. And then with just a little bit of oak, you get that toast, almost like, I describe it like my grandpa's, like cherry pipe tobacco. And 2018 was a great year because we had a nice warm summer, and then the temperatures cooled down in the fall, but it didn't rain. So it was 70s, low 70s every day. We were still picking grapes at Halloween, which is sort of unheard of. Most of the time, it's raining by Halloween, and we've cleared up everything. So Chris is right. He commented, I've had a lazy eye, so they put, in kindergarten in 1969, they stuck glasses on my face, and they weren't cool back then, but they're cool enough now that they're on a wine label.
So you're trying to say you've been hip since kindergarten?
No, it was not cool. Red hair, freckles. I had 2 giant chiclets growing out of my face. It was not cool back then. What do you guys think of this Pinot Noir?
You got beat up a lot.
I did, but
And a little cute half bottle as well. Available on Pinot Noir.
there's a mini me of the Pinot Noir in a 375. So that's the 2018 vintage. The 2020 vintage, the berries are a little small, so what we're going to get is super intense color. The yields will be down because some of these berries are quite small. You can't really see, but it should be a great harvest for winemakers. A little tougher for farmers because the total tonnage is going to be smaller, significantly smaller than it was last year. Any questions about Willamette Valley in general, Oregon, Pinot Noir, Pinot Gris? Anyone? Bueller?
Anyone?
You know, Adam, if you're still on and you have a second, and then we'll jump back to Damian for the same thing. Can you just talk a little bit about the 2020 harvest as you've seen it in Paso and up in Napa and Healdsburg and Santa Rosa?
Yeah, so I'm sure everybody knows about the fires and what type of impact they can have on grapes. So the concern that we have is that when smoke contacts grapes and vines for an extended period of time, particularly after veraison, when the grapes start to soften up and change color, there's a number of chemicals that are transferred from the ash into the berry and through the skin, and you end up with something called smoke taint. I don't know if any of you have ever had it before, but it's perceptible in the parts per billion. And what it does is it smells and tastes like a dirty ashtray. Well, I don't know if it tastes like a dirty ashtray. I would assume that's what a dirty ashtray tastes like. It is not a sexy smell. You can blend out smoke tainted wine no more than 4 or 5% into any other wine that doesn't have the problem. Now, that being said, we've had all these huge fires, 1 million acres burned in California. There's still some up above Napa right now. We have already had, we had a big fire in Monterey County. So the smoke came down through the Salinas Valley and came out into Paso. There was a lot of concern the first couple of days that we were going to have a wrecked harvest. The first analysis that has come back from the laboratories has showed that there is no smoke taint in any of our, certainly our broadside stuff that we get, and more than likely for our cycle stuff too. So I'm excited about that. So things are testing negative in Paso Robles. We are going to be testing, there's been a lot of smoke in Napa, and so we're going to be testing those grapes. There's a lot of cautious optimism because, you know, the airflow through the Napa Valley is pretty rapid, and the key is that the smoke has to sit on the vine for like 3 or 4 days. And so if there's constant movement, it clears up at night, we get some wind in there to knock the ash off the vine, then we might be in pretty good shape. But, you know, we'll let you know when there are some people who have been wiped out. I'm not going to lie to you. I think down in Carneros, they got hit really, really, really hard, and there's a lot of concern down there. But, you know, I am, again, cautiously optimistic. But
Adam, outside of the smoke and the fire, how is the harvest kind of come through spring and flower bud break and into today?
Oh, yeah. You know, we got a really solid set. There was no really crazy weather. We started the fire season with a couple of 115-degree days down in Paso in particular. It's really hot up here, too. And the nice thing about this, I remember 2018 where we had 2.5 weeks, 100-plus weather. And what happens is it shuts the vines down. They don't just dehydrate and die and wither away. They start to lose sugar. But once you keep water on them, and once the heat goes away, which it always does every year, the sugars drop back down, everything comes into balance, and it pushes back the harvest, gives a little extra ripening time. So I think what I'm seeing right now is that we are probably about a week earlier than normal. The quality of what I'm tasting is pretty fantastic. Particularly Cabernet, the late ripening varietals seem to be maturing a little quicker than the early ripening varieties. So there might be a crazy year like last year where we had Chardonnay and Cabernet coming off at the same time. But I feel pretty confident it's going to be a very good quality year, provided we don't have a smoke problem.
Great, thanks so much. And Damian, if you would be so kind as to answer that same question, just give us a little update in 2020 harvest up there in Oregon.
Look, it's funny, a spider came off. So Adam said there was a solid fruit set in California. There was a smaller fruit set in Oregon. So what that means, there's a bud break, and then, you know, the weather was a little mixed, so the berries come in and they're smaller and spaced out further. So some of the clusters look very lonely, right? There's only a half a dozen grapes or a dozen or so. This is actually one of the fuller clusters, but most often at this time of year, they start to look like, you know, yeast rolls, like buns in the oven, where they're starting to squish together, and that's not what we're seeing. So again, skin to fruit ratio is going to be high. These are going to be great concentrated, intense wines, but there's going to be a smaller amount of the 2020 harvest. So if it's spectacular, which we're hoping it is and think it will be, you're going to want to get some of this 2020 because there's not going to be a ton of it. But we often battle rain. There's no irrigation in Willamette Valley. So all of a sudden the winds picked up from the east and we're going to hit, high 90s this weekend. So our concern is dehydration because we can't drip any water on them because we don't have irrigation. And we don't want these berries to get any smaller. They're small enough as they are. So right now conditions are good. We're just hoping that it doesn't get too hot. And by the midweek, we should moderate temperatures back down in the 70s, which is ideal. It's in the 50s at night. So that works perfect for Pinot as well.
Damian, there was a question in about what the impetus was of motivation of blending the Gewurz and Riesling into the Pinot Gris.
I think with Pinot Blanc and Pinot Gris, the knock is that they tend to be just a little one note. And so what we wanted to do was develop a style rather than just making it, adding sugar. We wanted that a balance of acidity and minerality and Pinot Gris fruit with some aromatics in the glass just to give it a little extra lift. And so, again, when I taste it, I don't want enough or so much in there that you taste it in the glass. I want the Pinot Gris fruit to shine through. I just want the aromatics to show up in the glass. And then because it rests on the lees, that gives it more of a creamy mouthfeel. And then we do put a touch of CO2 when we bottle it. So it just kind of adds to that zest and balances the acid. Champagne is a ton of acid. And if you drank it every day, well, 2 or 3 bottles, A, you'd have a lot of fun. B, you'd have acid reflux. So what we're trying to do is balance that acid so it doesn't really just burn you up. And that's what we think those aromatics and a little bit of that CO2 does for us as well.
Awesome.
How'd you guys like it in the glass? That's the big question.
It's a perfect summertime patio wine. It goes down way too easy sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, I know there's a great oyster bar in downtown Chicago, GT Oyster, but it is a fantastic wine for, fresh seafood, whether it's cracked crab or oysters or clams, or I know lobster are coming in now out of the Northeast. Hopefully they'll make it all the way out here. It's a long walk from Maine, but I'm hoping that I get one.
Well, sadly, I understand with the pandemic, the pricing is pretty spectacular. It at least helps with the pricing of the shipping.
Right. I mean, that's the fisheries out here. That's another interesting thing. The boats couldn't sell to restaurants, so they were pulling into the city, and you could go down to the fishing fleet in both Seattle and Portland and buy fish right off the boats because otherwise, the fish that they had caught, whether it was tuna or some of the salmon, wasn't going to go to market.
Yeah, this has changed everything for everybody. And Adam's going to show off his fabulous mask there. I'll go ahead and spotlight that fabulousness.
Come on, Damian.
All right, I just got the basic Portlandia mask, but when you really start working, this is it. You go full on Portlandia bandit style.
We got a Portland.
Awesome. All right. Do we have any other questions for the crew of Wine Hooligans? All right.
Nice.
You guys, we are very excited to have everybody here and joining us with a little bit of wrap up. The crew at Wine Hooligans is offering every single one of you guys a fantastic mix of wines that you will all be getting on your next, as soon as we get them, we'll get them out to you guys as soon as we can, preferably on your next delivery. We have special pricing for everybody. You'll get an email tomorrow morning. And on that email tomorrow morning will also be a cool description of something that I had mentioned earlier today, was that we have the new DSD link, which is an online sign up an online platform for you to be able to sign right up and order all of your Glunz wines anytime, whether it's at a 9 o'clock at night, setting up your points of sale for mailing all those Christmas gifts, and you realize you're out of a fantastic Pinot Gris and you need one, you can jump right on and get that. You can create the account and use either an app or use the website, and you'll jump right on to sign up right here, and we can easily help you, but it's a real simple program. Or you can download the app, which is also very cool and very easily used. We will send information on that, and we'll also have a winner of a fabulous product that you will be getting. One lucky person will be getting. And Chris, what was that item? I know you texted it.
Yeah, okay. With that, somebody on this tasting this morning will get a bottle of the Broadside Black Letter Cab. Again, this is above our normal 20 price point that we go for, but I think you're really going to enjoy it. Adam talked about it a little bit, but somebody on this show this morning will get a bottle of that. Please enjoy it with a bone-in ribeye off the grill. I think you'll love it. And after that, let's stack it up in your stores.
Fantastic. Well, Dennis, thank you very much for joining us and your team. Awesome presentation. We have a fabulous lineup that will continue through the month of September. We've got 15 more of these great presentations hosted by a different winery every day. And the Wine Hooligans team has got some one-on-ones, as well as has another 2:30 presentation. So if you're missed out on something earlier, we will have this #1 on YouTube later today, as well as it'll be available to rejoin us at 2:30 if you wanted. I am just running through some quick questions through chat, and it looks like there's some love for the Pinot Gris. And yeah, all right. I don't think we have any questions. So thank you all very much for coming, for hosting, and we'll see you all soon.
Dan,
Thanks so much.
8